Thank you. Appreciate it. Being on camera and waiting is different than being in person and waiting.
It is.
Yeah. Don't worry. Everyone will comment all at once, all of a sudden.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, let me log in now. 2 minutes late. But it's different when you're walking in a room. Like when we presented in Dallas, people were either already there or they were coming in, but you get to like walk around. Right now, you can't walk around.
True, very true.
You just have to sit here like, whoop.
Thank you, Renee.
We have 12 participants. Hey everyone, yay! That did happen fast.
Welcome to our channel. Make sure you like and subscribe.
We're excited to have you, Michael.
All right, the hour is 11 o'clock. Welcome to Hood Politics, the demand for equitable planning and activation of marginalized communities. This is with 1 CM credit. Today's panelists are Christy and Christine. Ina, they will introduce themselves. I'm your host, Jeremy Hurlbut, the president-elect in Prince George's County Urban Design Planner. But I'll be in the background, and with that, I'll turn it over to the panelists.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of the conference. We are definitely excited to have this conversation with you on hood politics. Before we get started, this is going to be a little hood, I will warn you, but it is going to be very educational, so I hope you enjoy the journey. Today, I'm with my colleague, Christina.
Hi guys, I'm Christina Glancy. I'm a marketing mind. I'm excited to share this time and space with you. Thank you for joining our conversation.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Christie Holland. We both bring private and public sector experience to this, and most of the work that I've done has always been in the outreach space or just community building space. And it's always involved hood politics, whether I was working as a trio advisor, helping students get into college, or even just selling TCU merchandise at the football games when I was at TCU. You gotta know who you're dealing with, so that's why we're having this conversation today. So, what we will do in this conversation is talk about the problem we're planning today. We're gonna get in a little bit about navigating hood politics and give you a few takeaways for activating the hood. But what we won't do is, we won't go too deep. If you wanna get a little deeper, you want some stats and things like that, you can connect with us afterwards. And we're not here to give you another skill set at all. We're here to actually help you shift your mind so that you can amplify your skill sets whenever you're doing these projects. Now again, we're not here to give you a bunch of stats or give you a bunch of charts and things to look at. I'm not interested in none of that right now, okay? I'm tired, my brain is quarantined. So, like I said, we're here for a mindset shift. Again, why are we discussing hood politics? Because we're planners.
Tell them why.
We're planners. What do planners do? You know, we make tweaks to our built environment so that we can just get one step closer to living our best lives, period. Today and forever. But nowadays, as planners, we get so caught up in just planning for tomorrow and fixing what we think is the problem or what we want to be the problem that we forget the major element that's involved with planning and the hoods. The people, right. So we get to applying these planning formulas as if A plus B is always going to equal C and it's just going to fix all of our social problems. Why? Because we just got to have our dog parks. And, you know, we just dream of the day that we could ride through our bike lanes, hair in the wind, and we just ride off into a blissful utopia. But meanwhile, we're sitting here doing all that planning and the hood is looking at us like, who said that? I'm just trying to understand who said that.
I don't even have a dog. Why do I need a dog park?
Who said that? So let's get into the code a little bit. So each hood has their own code, or as you will understand, politics. Some of it is formal, some of it is very informal. But the code sets the pace and the tone for everything that happens within a hood, within that geo boundary. So I'm talking everything from what, how, and where you eat, how you communicate with your kids and grandma and them, how you interact with insiders and the outsiders, and even down to how money is being made and moved within the community. And it defines what a threat is too, and the appropriate ways to react to and even handle a threat. So as planners, we need to remember that the code is often a hood's response to the built environment, a response to it or just an adaptation to it. And rather than entering a hood with your proposed solutions on what you think a problem is, maybe you should take your time a little bit, slow your roll, and figure out what their lived experiences are and let them define what their problem is and what the symptoms are. So I need everyone to take a moment, head over to the chat because we're about to have this discussion, okay? So I'm gonna present a scenario to you. It's 11:15, actually I lied, it's 11:04, okay? You're helping your kids, and or if you don't have any kids, you're teleworking right now, right? You're teleworking, you're trying to watch all these 20 videos that you signed up for today, but suddenly you just get a knock on your door and it's a family member and you're like, wait a minute, I don't even see you. This is the first time I've seen you in about 5 years, but regardless, they pop up unannounced. They have all of these papers in their hands and their energy is just loud. It's on 1,000, okay? It's 11:04 and their energy is on 1,000, and they come with a full smile, no mask. You ain't seen them in 5 years, they pop up on you with no mask. They tell you, hey, I have a project that's gonna solve all your problems, and you thinking like, hold on, what's the problem? Because I haven't been talking to you about my problems, but nevertheless, you listen. They say, this is gonna help, I'm gonna add this to your house, and I think it's gonna raise your property value. I think it's gonna add to your aesthetic, and it should make it easier for you to host some of your guests, right? You're like, okay. And you're like, all right, let's see what's going on. What are you talking about? They even give you some ideas on what they want to do with this project, and they want to hear some of your ideas on how to make it better. But regardless, they're just here ready to present this plan and get this plan going, whether you like it or not. So, what's your first reaction to this scenario?
I can't see which. There we go. Exactly.
Yes, Alan, I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you here? That's not my issue.
Mm-hmm. What else? Boy, bye. Get out of my house. That was my response.
Get out of my house. Like, what you doing? Okay.
Oh, you're nice, Michael. You sat in last and you're gonna listen. You can't call nobody, right? Like, phones exist for a reason.
Exactly. You get a call before you popped up. Now, I would say some of my first reactions, is this a pyramid scheme? Like, literally, give them a mask. They need a mask. Exactly. My response would be somewhere in between, what? Wait a minute, like, what we doing? And can I help you? Because, what is this? Why are you here? So tell me what would be your first thoughts? That's my initial reaction. Before I even said anything, what would be your first thoughts? I'm busy right now. Can you send me an email of what you want later? Am I even gonna read this email is the question.
That's always my go-to. Is there an angle here?
They said,
Who are you?
who are you? Who are you? Tell me, who are you?
Like, wait, hold on. This is your fire hosing me with information here.
I swear, I don't need no more space because I don't want people here. Exactly. What are you doing? Who sent you? I'm just trying to understand.
Exactly. I love these responses, guys.
Christina, what would be your reaction or your first thoughts?
Clearly, I'm not needed in this space, so I'm gonna leave, and you could get out of my space because what you're saying to me doesn't apply to me. Was my response.
Right. So, okay, let's go.
Where have you been for the last 5 years? Exactly.
That's all I'm trying to
Michael.
know. That's all I'm trying to know. Who are you? So, okay, let's say you decide that you're gonna hear them out. You're gonna listen to the project. You're like Michael right now. You're very nice. You know, you still didn't ask for this project. You still don't know who they are and where they've been in the last 5 years, but you decide to give them a chance. Or you're like me. I don't want to hear this, and you tell them go away because who are you? What are you doing? What do you do next in this situation? Oops. What do you do next? Do you listen to them? Do you kick them out? Do you consider the project? What are you doing?
You gotta go. For me.
Let us know in the comments how you're reacting to that. Is this a community issue or a personal issue?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. I listen and may give suggestions on what I would rather have.
That's nice.
Yeah,
you
that's
would
right.
think about it as well.
Does this work in a post-COVID world? Yep, they showed up with no mask, remember? You already on guard. You're on guard.
These are good questions.
Mm-hmm. Thank them for their time and send them on their way.
You could also do that. I am great for kicking people out of my space. Actually, one of my specialties.
Door already slammed shut.
I like your energy.
Yes, y'all are coming with the energy today. Thanks for these responses. I want y'all to take a moment to really look through these responses too, because all of these feelings and these thoughts and reactions, that's the same thing people from marginalized communities feel when they hear the word dun 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 dun, gentrification. So, today this word, it definitely has a different connotation depending on the crowd that's using it, but you know, as planners, we look at the word as an opportunity or another attempt at urban renewal.
Yeah.
So, you know, to make the deteriorating neighborhoods or even just update a neighborhood, make it function better, make it a little cleaner, you know, make it a little safer.
Improve the quality of life.
Yeah, make it affordable. Just drive up the property,
Affordable.
right? Drive up the property value and economic development. And I'll give the benefit of the doubt and say most of the time these are well-intentioned, but you know, it just depends because this can go either way depending on the impact and the execution. Now, before you get all bent out of shape, give me a moment.
Just wait.
Like, yes, we all want great neighborhoods. We all want efficiency and things like that. But the hood does too. Like, they want their green spaces. They want spaces to gather as a community and have the cookouts. If you ain't been to a black cookout or a marginalized neighborhood cookout, let me tell you, you're missing something. But anyway, they want the bike lanes. They want the affordable houses and everything too. They want all the professional and social services just like the next neighborhood.
I want my garden. I need fresh food. No,
Yes,
that's what I want.
because
I want.
we're not gonna name no grocery stores, but I'm tired of Trader Joe's and these prices.
The prices. I love me some Trader
That's
Joe's.
the prices, that's it. But, you know, when planners bring in these projects and these developments and these renewals, make the neighborhood better, this often comes at the expenses of the people already living in these marginalized neighborhoods. Now, like I said, we're not gonna go too deep on what gentrification is or what it isn't. We're not about to pull up any stats or anything like that. Just know that the word is generally not taken well in the hood, because when they hear it, all they hear is, this is not for me. Like, these neighborhoods experience what Jared Walker calls elite projection. You know, when someone walks up in your spot thinking they have all the political power, all the decision-making power, they pop up unannounced with no mask, and impose what they think is the best thing for you and your community, whether you like it or not, whether it's relevant to anything that you have going on or not. And though some of the things that we've talked about or what's listed on the screen is not inherently bad, I'll give the benefit of the doubt that these resources are well-intentioned, but the unsolicited help and the disregard of a hood's needs and their character, it makes them victims of gentrification. So
Yeah.
we're experiencing things like displacement, tensions between racial groups, and even within racial groups and socioeconomic classes.
And removal from housing, positioning kids from schools,
Exactly.
all of that, like really disrupting life.
Disrupting, okay? This is why we're talking about this. We witnessed this as both professionals in the planning industry and just as individuals from marginalized communities.
Yeah.
I'm from the city of St. Louis, she's from Pittsburgh. And if you've been to any of those cities, you probably understand what we're talking about.
They're hot spots right now for gentrification and urban renewal and zoning, all of that.
Exactly.
It's happening in real time.
Mm-hmm. And like she said, we've seen it, we keep experiencing it because planners will wake up one day and say, oh my gosh, I want to save community X from XYZ. And then they start applying for all of these grants. They put a plan into motion and decide on when they want the public meeting to be, but they did all this before even talking to the community about what the problem is, or if the problem they think is a problem is even a problem.
So many problems.
So many problems. And so now marginalized communities are just at a point where they're fed up with this. I'm sick of it. And then this equity word is being thrown around just as the latest trend. But I'm here to remind you that equity is much more than just a trend. It's much more than being impartial, and it's much more than making sure someone has a seat at the table. It's about respect. It's about relating human to human,
Yeah.
and letting that lead conversations as you all respect each other's hood politics when you come together to solve a problem. And the problem may be an individual problem, individual community problem, or it may be a problem that affects us all as a whole. So, the hood, marginalized communities, they want you to stop playing with them, period.
Just stop.
Stop playing. They're demanding recognition, inclusion, and respect of their values, their needs, and culture, and to be respected as an expert on their problem during the planning process. They're demanding that equity be implemented as seamlessly as you're breathing right now. Like you shouldn't be second guessing it. It should be easy
It should be organic.
it should be easy to add equity into a process. Communities, they want planners to slow their roll. Like, don't push your values on them as if they don't know anything and as if they need a savior. They just want to be respected for their authenticity and the value that they bring, and to be compensated for that value. They want to be understood as capable and resilient despite the effects of peopleless planning. And most importantly, they want the first and the last words when you speak on anything about their hood, period. You don't live here, you can't speak on us, you can't speak on anything you know. We got the first word and we got the last word. If you don't believe me, go ahead and check out the Don't Mute DC movement.
Yeah.
And the situation that happened, I believe it was last year or in 2018 with the Howard University and dogs on campus. So, now that you got it in your head, don't play with them, stop playing with them. How can planners make sure that the marginalized communities are getting what they're asking for? It's time to shift the narrative within you. And I'll let Christina lead from here.
So, thank you, Chrissy. I think that you brought some great points. I'm going to tie it in with how do we shift our mindset. So as a marketing professional inside the planning industry, my job is to show up and bring the human element out of the planners and the engineers that I work with. So I want to start by saying that I am a human trying to ask you to be human here, and I'm going to ask you to do some human things, so just hold on, all right? The goal here is to activate the marginalized communities and to provide a new narrative, right? But how do you do that when you're already creating a narrative for them and you haven't even checked with them? So my ask for you is to be human first and to check yourself first.
Check it.
Planners love checklists, right? So here we go. I want you to evaluate the narrative that you're telling yourself, right? What are you telling yourself about this situation? Where have you done it before? For example, when you get a scope, you're like, oh, I've done this in this community. I can clearly bring these transferable skills over here. Is that actually the right mentality that you need to bring? In my experience, I don't think that it is. I think that you need to get lost in the challenges of the community, and here are some questions that you need to consider as a human and dropping your title. So what story are you telling yourself about the community? Is the community like how the news explains communities? Is it tough in crime? What is the transportation, accessibility there? What are the community recs? What are you telling yourself about those things and the places in the communities? What do you think you know? Are you going in there like, oh, I'm a manager, I know this, I'm not going to do that? Are you bringing that energy? What characteristics of yours can you relate to the community? Is there anything in the community that you can relate to? And if you can't, are you vulnerable enough and are you willing enough to bring somebody else in? Because those are the questions that you need to ask yourself before you even step inside of a community. And if you're not, don't worry, when you get to the public meeting or if you get in front of the community, they'll ask you these questions. Mm-hmm. They've asked us these questions, and you just look like, I didn't think about that. Mm-hmm. So think about how you can activate your human before you get into these communities, because that's how these people are gonna see you. They don't really care about your title, or sometimes they don't even know what you do. So the things that you are holding yourself high to within your profession and with your colleagues, you should drop that, or consider putting it to the passenger seat and letting your human drive. Another ask that I will ask you to do is, before you get into the community, the biggest thing, and I know that I might get some pushback on this, is drop your deadline.
Drop it. Drop it.
Let me say it again. Drop your deadline, right? Do you hold your children to deadlines, right? Do you hold your family to deadlines when you're trying to do something meaningful with your family? And if your answer is yes, I'm gonna need you to rethink that, especially when you're approaching communities that you would like to change. Because they just feel pressure, like all of the things that you're pushing them through, and then you're like, oh, we need to do this by this date. That doesn't mean anything to me. So you're telling me that I have to change my life because you said so in 2 days. Mm-hmm. That's anxiety. I'm gonna push back, and it creates so many other feelings. And then think about the feelings that you are invoking when you come in and then you tell somebody, like the guests that show up at your door, I'm telling you this, and that, this is your problem. Consider the feeling that brings up. Is that what you want to work with? Think again, going back to your child. If the child is having a tantrum and you need them to do something, do you think that they're going to react right then and there and do what you want in the middle of a tantrum? Mm-hmm. That is what people in the community are feeling when you tell them what their problems are, and then you walk in there saying that you know it all, because you have this title. And then I'm going to ask you to do something also that's very human, is listen to connect and not respond. Don't connect your people to deadlines. Connect your people human to human. Listen to them, because you need the information that they know, the feelings that they feel, to actually get the change that you want to make in the community. And that's why we're doing this in the first place, right? We want to be able to make these communities better and for a legacy. Mm-hmm. It's not just about the next 10 years. It's about, we really want to build something within the community to move on and continue on that culture there. And a lot of communities are built off of kinship. I know my community is.
Right, same with St. Louis.
So all of the things that I'm saying to you is not off of theory. It's based off of real experience. Christy and I have been on multiple projects together in community settings in DC. And we walked into these places with our own narratives, mm-hmm. right? There were communities that were marginalized communities. They felt very similar to the communities that we came from. We walked in there telling ourselves, don't worry, we got this. We'll go in there and we'll build trust.
I speak good.
Right? I'll connect to everybody. I can't wait to talk to an elder. I miss the elders in my families. Mm-hmm. We'll build trust easy. We know who they are and how they react. And then we also know how to talk to our community. We know how to talk to our people. We can get through to them. We've done our due diligence. We Google search. We did a thorough Google search. Mm-hmm. We even walked the community on Google Maps, right? Mm-hmm. So we know the street names. We know the hood politics, right?
Nor did we.
So the places that we walked into, there was this community where we were supposed to build membership at a rec center, and that's where we had the narrative of, we know the community, this, and that. We know exactly how to get to the root of the problem. And we went into the community and we failed. We failed multiple times. We went in there and we were like, okay, we know what happened. We have value added to you because this is what we thought we presented to our client in the proposal. And then we just we had it in our hearts to make real change. And we didn't. It turns out that our challenges were, we didn't have local phone numbers. Both of our numbers did not start with 202 when we did the phone interviews to
That was
people.
problem number one.
Literally, there were times where we were on phone calls with people where we're like, hey, this is what's happening. These are the problems we see. These are what we heard from you from the community meetings. And then my response that I got multiple times was, okay, yeah, why do you have a 412 number? I'm like, out of everything that I just said, that's all you heard? So I had to really step back, and we both had to really step back in different levels with different people and be vulnerable enough to peel back the layers of our titles, what we thought we knew, and just come as a human. Like, okay, this is something that you don't trust. The phone number was a trigger. It wasn't just because of the phone number. It was because we're not native DC people. And what we thought we knew, we understood how an urban setting was able to function, but we didn't get that in that community. And it turned out that community was built on real legacy and leadership. And all of the elders had a really good, had a large stake in how the community happened, how they developed the people. So we couldn't just go in there with our titles and our Google searches and create the change that we wanted to. But fortunately enough, the elders in the communities knew our hearts. And they were willing to let us tire out with everything that we thought we knew. And then they sat us down and were like, hey, we see what you're trying to do here. This is the problem. So we went in there thinking that we knew something and we were going to be the leaders, but we actually had to take a back seat and be the students. And
we also thought that we were gonna be able to do this in a good timeline. They put us through the ringer for a few weeks, okay?
Yeah, our deadlines all got pushed. All of the value added, like we were supposed to do this huge community meeting where the community presented. They didn't want that. We ended up having to do like one-on-one interviews, and then instead of hosting our own community meeting, we went to their community days and we sat in on their public meetings and just to listen. We didn't come with our titles, we came as a community member.
And then we didn't always come buttoned up either.
No, we would come in sweatshirts, yeah, because they didn't want us to be the oddball sitting out at a community meeting. Because as soon as you walk in there with like a suit and tie, or what for me, a dress and a blazer, you stand out. So leading with our human abilities was able to get us further with our communities that we needed to create the change in. And we still have those relationships today. We live in the same ward as them. So it's fine. They become our sense of our elders of our family. So in saying all of this, and what I really would like for you all to consider the next time that you go into a community, especially a marginalized community, is to strive for peace before you add value. Go in there calm and not as a force, because people can feel that energy. I would ask you to connect the humans that you want to impact, because you're not just impacting them for right now, the present. You are evoking emotions from the past. You are changing their present and then impacting their future. So please connect to them on a human level. And then most importantly, remember to be human. Everything that you have done in your career, day to day, you didn't come this far to only get this far. So.
And we'll leave you with some takeaways overall, and we'll get into this discussion because I know it's a little thick in the comments right now. But
I'm loving the comments, by the way.
Yes, I'm ready to get into it. But as she said, take some time to learn to be human and learn what it means for them to be human. Learn their hood politics, learn their code.
Yeah.
Because once you know the code, you're good to go. That doesn't mean you won't get rejected or anything, but knowing the code will put you in a much better situation. Announce yourself. Do not roll up to my spot with no mask telling me what I will and will not do. This is not your house, okay? Please remember that. As Christina said, let the technical side take a back seat. They don't care about all this planning jargon. My mom will always
Or the
be like,
credentials behind your name.
girl, what is that? What is AICP? I feel like that's, I ain't gonna even say
What's
what
that
I was
gonna
gonna
do
say,
for me?
but like, yeah, what is that gonna do for me? Show up in human form. Like when you put all that technical stuff aside, that allows you to show up in human form. Put on your hoodie, put on your sweats. That's why I have a hoodie on today, because I'm talking to you right now. I'm being human, okay? And lastly, we don't care about no deadlines. Yes, it matters because of funding and stuff. I get it. Deadlines are definitely important. We try to be timely people as well.
Yeah.
You know, things have to get done, but like make sure you're building in enough time and just wiggle room for your plans that's going to require human interaction and just your public meetings and, you know, outreach and all that.
Before we go to the question and answer about the deadlines thing, in our experience with multiple communities, when we were able to build the relationships first and we had our strict deadlines because of the funding and all of that, we were able to rely on our relationship to be truthful with our people. Hey, this is what is happening. This is our deadline has gotten shifted because of the funding. Can you work with us? So there are ways around it, but you have to be human.
Be human first.
So thank you all for listening and, you know, sharing time and space with us with a topic that we care about, because we're humans first and professionals in planning. So,
And I'm always gonna represent for the hood. We like to leave the floor open for questions now. We have one. Who are they and why they
he already
them?
said that in the it
Oh,
was
okay.
already said, so go into the chat. That's fine. Okay, so we left out, it was Renee, I saw the last one that we forgot. Door slam shut already. Oh, good, we have to consider everything. Yeah, just consider everything from all bases. You left out the non-Starbucks coffee shops and hot yoga studios. Yes, they really do. If I see another Soul Cycle or an Orange Theory pop up, those are, yeah. Give everybody the time and space to contemplate the decision. You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for the feedback. Question. For the growing homeless population in the hood, ideas, insights, additional points. I have something on that, and it blew my mind. So back when I was 20, I believe, I was living in Fort Worth, Texas, and I was working with this nonprofit who brought in students or like help nonprofit organizations to learn what it's like to live as a community member from that community would. So we would put them on a budget and like, you gotta feed the entire group of like 20 people on $50 for the rest of the week. How you gonna do it? Also during that time, we took them through the neighborhood to talk to the homeless people, not just to feed them and to talk to them. I mean, not to feed them or give them water and stuff, but to really talk to them and see their point of view, understand who they are. And that was the first time I realized sometimes homeless people choose to be there. Like, yes, life situations happen that makes them in that situation, but sometimes people choose that. I don't want to pay rent either, y'all. I'm sick of this rent in DC. I don't want to have to take care of myself like that all the time. So if I can come together with a community who we find resources together and we lower our living expenses, I would do that too. So you can't come in there with your preconceived notions of, oh, they're homeless because they lost their job, or they're homeless because someone kicked them out of their family. No, they probably just don't like this rent price. And they would rather get what they need in other ways. So like Christina said in her presentation, lead with your human. Put yourself in that situation, or at least try to understand where they're coming from in their homeless situation.
To add to that, New York City has a very robust program with homelessness. They have people to clean up the streets with like the needles epidemic, and they just have forces that are like dealing with the homelessness population so eloquently and with grace. So I would, if you have any contacts in New York, I think that you should do that, because they, like, maybe like a few years ago when when PRSA was our client, that they were the leading people sharing lessons learned and all of that on how to mitigate some of the challenges and also live with it. Because I know a lot of like urban planners were having to get hepatitis B shots and all of those things, because when they were doing landscaping, they might have got pricked with needles. So I would say look to see what New York City is doing and what lessons learned from them, because they were the driver 2 years ago, and I'm pretty sure that they're still it right now. And that was pre-COVID, so
Yeah.
that may have changed it. Okay.
What are your opinions on charrettes in relation to deadlines? I worked on a charrette in the hood that was all about deadlines. We're not saying that deadlines are a bad thing at all. Like, you absolutely need to have a framework within what you're trying to accomplish, or for what you're trying to accomplish. But don't let the deadline be so strict that you don't get your answer, because if I'm constantly telling you, by Friday I need an answer.
Yeah.
By Friday, I'm like, look, I'm stressed out. I don't know what to tell you. I don't even know what gentrification is, or I don't even know what stormwater is. What is that? It's raining? Is that it? What is it? Give people time. Give yourself time to educate people on what you're even discussing or what you're trying to accomplish, and then for them to be able to process it and make it relevant for their world. Once you do that, it'll be much easier to follow them deadlines. But education is definitely going to be key.
So basically, to reiterate, humanize the deadline. Like, this is how it relates to you. Start with the benefit of it. If we work together, get this done by Friday, this is going to progress it.
Yeah.
Which leads to our next question. We know that plans for communities can start 10 years prior to public meetings. How can a community get involved when the plans really begin, rather than when we are ready to show us the plans at the community meeting? And DEC is the ANC meetings. Or you can go to like the associations that actually partner with the associations that lead the community, to talk to them and understand how you can activate and make that a priority, because they already have their own timelines in the community and what it looks like. Everybody that it might impact, you should reach out to those organizations, churches. Definitely talk to the churches, because they can railroad your deadlines.
But I tell you, the churches, different, like, if sports communities, little leagues, I know in St. Louis it's a huge thing. You can get a lot of work done in a little league practice or something. Just think outside the box. If there's one of my colleagues, she's here today, she brought up a great idea for one of our projects over at the city of Alexandria. Let's talk to Weight Watchers and see how we can make transportation projects, or how we can get people out of single occupant vehicles.
Yeah.
If people are on Weight Watchers, they're more likely to try to get all these steps in, or like cut out another workout if possible. So figure out who these community groups are and think outside the box. They'll lead you to where you're trying to go. Michael says, wonderful points. I'm working with the POP in NOMA DC. This is very helpful.
Yeah. NOMA's an interesting client, so good luck with you. Good luck with NOMA. And if you have any questions to ask us during, I'm completely open to chatting with you about it. Thanks.
The question is, are you looking at this? How do you share hood politics with other colleagues without being tokenized? Tell them I'm not a token. That's how I lead. But
so my personality is generally authentic. If I present ideas like these are my thoughts, I own it. Or a lot of my colleagues, they like to know what case studies are. So I'll present it in a case study, like, hey, this case study says this. I know it's against what you're thinking, but maybe you should open your thought process up to this, because this is what studies are also showing, and we can't just be boxed in or operate in a silo here.
Right. And I try to put people through that lived experience. So I had the opportunity to lead an equity series with my department, and I wanted to talk about how the disabled population have to navigate traffic, what we do with the traffic community, and transportation planning. So rather than having someone just tell you, oh, you need to raise this curve or lower the curve because I'm blind, I'm going to make you be blind for the day so that you understand this is why I'm tripping over things, or this is why this bird chirping is a problem, or why it's necessary for it to be at the intersection. I'm going to put you through that experience so that you can feel what it feels to be that human in that moment, so that the plans are more real. And I think that helps with just taking out the tokenism. Don't look at me as just the presenter or the pastor up here preaching. No, live it, feel it, and then understand, or come up with a way to solve the problem now that you understand what it feels like.
Another route that I also go is LinkedIn. I'll share my opinion on LinkedIn, even though everybody may not comment or they might not say anything. It's a more passive way to do it. I'll share my opinion on LinkedIn and my professional opinion. So that's also a way that you can present it, and then people can talk to you when they're ready about it.
Right. The next question says, how do you change leadership's views on the community's desire to provide input when they think no one will come? How do you think COVID will help hurt reach citizens? I guess help hurt or reach citizens.
So for me, I do like marketing. So I basically, it's called inbound marketing, and based on the research, you know what type of people are engaging with whatever you're trying to say, your concept, right? Those are the stats that I use to tell my leadership, this is what the community is saying, this is what we think. I also do what is reality, what we think and what is reality. I do a lot of boxes. That's how I get leadership to change, is because I have to present it in boxes, Gantt charts, stuff like that. And then what was the second part? How do you think COVID will help our hurt citizens? So
I think we're just gonna have to get more creative in how we reach these people, because even just this conference, everyone doesn't have internet access.
Everybody doesn't have Zoom access.
So I also lead lunch and learns in Alexandria. If anyone works in Alexandria, or if you're a business owner out there, the assumption is that people are gonna be willing to get on these webinars all the time, or that they even have time to come to my lunch and learn. So I have to, with COVID, for example, yes, I have to respect the fact that we need to be 6 feet apart, but I also have to understand that right now people want human interaction. They want to be away from the house. They want to be away from the computers. And I also, like with marketing, have to keep my ear to the ground and see like what the latest trends are. Like what are people feeling right now? What are they looking for? And include all of that in my next plan for this next meeting or this next lunch and learn. So with COVID, you kind of have to do the same thing. Like, where are people going? We know for sure they're going to the grocery stores. So what can you do at a grocery store? Can you hand out a pamphlet? Can you stop them at a table? Can you do a dance?
QR code.
Yeah, QR code, do a dance or something. Get some attention. Like,
Yeah.
TikTok is huge right now. You might not be able to reach the elders in the community, but you will through their grandkids, because the grandkids then found the dance to do or something on TikTok. So just get creative with everything that's out here. Don't be so suited up and pent up in a tie that you can't really see what's attracting someone or like what's trending.
I think the thought of, we have to get away from this idea that just because somebody didn't show up to our meeting doesn't mean that they don't know about it, because in our experience with community meetings pre-COVID, even when people they didn't show up, when we put everything on the website, when we did talk to when the person that was a representation of 10 people in the community, word of mouth is still very relevant. Mm-hmm. So if we put things in places where influencers of the communities, or if we have a contact of an influencer of the community, that is also very vital. We can, for Zoom, for example, what we're doing with the recordings, we're sending the link out for people to view it on their own time. Those are type of things that is also considerable to reach. We're going to get people and citizens change. We just have to be more mindful and not tied to the outcomes that we were pre-COVID.
I hope that answers your question. The next one says, why isn't finding the elders or understanding the community a necessary early step in the planning process? That's the point. We trying to tell y'all.
That's what we would like.
Y'all coming through with these plans, telling us what you will and what you won't do, and we ain't talk to you. Who are you?
Yeah.
So in the scenario, I said that it's a family member, but oftentimes these are complete strangers walking up to our doors, talking about a public meeting. For what? Who said that? Who said that was a problem?
We strive to get the planning process to adjust the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
The structure of it is good and it is scalable, but we want it to scale too in situations, finding the elders, finding the influencers. It might even be a blogger in the
Mm-hmm.
community. So I think that we just need to be more flexible in our approach and our planning process and how it actually applies to the community and not what we think we know.
Right. So to answer, like, why isn't it a necessary early step? It is a necessary early step.
This is what we always done is generally the response that I get when I challenge that quota.
Yeah. So even before you all start applying for different grants or looking for someone to solve what you think is the problem, it's okay to go ahead and like look from the outside, from bird's eye view, and be like, wow, they have no trees. Let's go in here and figure out why they have no trees. Like, take that time to figure out why they don't have trees instead of saying, wow, they don't have trees, let me apply for a grant, and then go figure out why they don't have trees. No, that's gonna be a waste.
Okay. So how the next question is, so how do we deal with historical bad relationships between our professional predecessors in the community today?
That's real.
That is a really good question.
I think we have to get to a point where we have to accept that the past is the past. Things happen. We have to apologize for it and show how we're working to reverse that, or how we're trying to reconcile those issues. Sometimes all it came down to is bad leadership. A community might have liked the project, but because Joe led it, they not rocking with it. So take time to make sure, understand people's feelings towards leadership, towards the project, and then make amends with what happened and really educate people on what you're trying to accomplish from here on out. What would you say?
I would say you have to be vulnerable enough to have that conversation, and take the heat for something, even though it's like, say if it's your organization and that person is still not there, but that is the perspective that the community has of your organization. You really have to have tough skin in that moment, and then ask them, what will it take for us to have a better relationship this time?
And don't accept.
Where did we go wrong in trust? Why don't you trust us now? So you have to get vulnerable and be willing to have that tough conversation.
And don't rush it.
No.
Don't rush that healing, because a lot of these communities have been going through trauma for so long. They don't want to hear it unless you come in with it. So take your time. And if that's hard to comprehend, think about when you mess up in your relationship with a family member, with a loved one, and how much work it takes just to get that back to a good spot. It takes a lot, and it takes time. It takes you undoing a lot of yourself, uncentering yourself, and centering what their needs are to get anything accomplished. So we have time for a few more questions.
Answer this one.
I think one came in the chat box while you were answering that one, from Renee, that just says, why is it that sometimes planners have solutions and sometimes that isn't an issue, but wouldn't solve the issue the community wants? For example, in wards 7 and 8, we have 3 grocery stores. We're asking for stop signs, speed bumps, and a grocery store, but planners want to give us bike lanes.
I don't have an answer for that, because if y'all told them we want the stop signs, speed bumps, and a grocery store, why are you adding this bike lane? It doesn't make sense.
So, like, say this? Let me think about that in a second.
But that's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. I think that's where it's the easy thing to put in a bike lane, right, to move people, or it's the low-hanging fruit to give somebody those things, to say that you have done work in the Ward 7 and Ward 8. That is a true representation of that person is not being human. They're the person that has the influence to put in a bike lane is actually relying on their technical skill rather than their humanness.
Mm-hmm. They're that person that walked into your house without a mask on, just telling you what they're gonna do. They asked for your input. I'm sure they had the community meetings for this bike lane, but they were like, yeah. So about this bike lane, do you want it curbed, or you want it protected or unprotected? It's the same situation.
There's another one in there.
We'll take this last question. It says, in marginalized communities, do you have any advice for stressing the importance of vocal support for equitable change so that more than just the local leaders, for example, the pastors, express their support for policy changes? I would say, as far as vocal support, if you're asking how do you get the opinions of others outside of the local leaders, because yes, sometimes the pastors will do the same thing. They'll say a problem is a problem whenever isn't really the problem. Get creative in the ways that you solicit feedback. Do a social media challenge. People love pictures. You can feed into the vanity of social media right now. You can do the QR codes, the surveys. It's so many different ideas and things you can do out here. Just figure out the different ways to communicate, different ways, what that code is of how people communicate in that neighborhood, and get into it. Some neighborhoods don't want the individual conversations. We just happen to look up that people here in DC don't mind individual conversations, but in St. Louis, I would have been considered a mark. Like, you working with the feds, you trying to take me in somewhere, so that never would have worked. So we would have had to be a lot more creative in how I got a more well-rounded answer for whatever the problem was.
In Pittsburgh, people go through schools. They talk to the school like this is what's happening. Indirectly, they would have planners come and talk to the children. This is what it looks like. This is how we build your community. I would say whoever your audience is, whatever your plan is to improve the community and who that is going to impact, go there. So if it's going to be in front of a school, talk to the school. If it's going to be in front of the barbershop, try to build those relationships with the barbershop without the result or outcome being tied to your project. Mm-hmm. Go in there and figure out who these people are first, and do your research, mm-hmm. or just show up at a meetup with people that are similar to your community that you're trying to impact.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Take your time. I know right now it's getting increasingly hard to have human interactions and conversations, not just because of COVID. Like, we do everything online so much that we're losing the art of just human connection. Yeah. Human conversations and things. So, like she said, start practicing that again. Like, just show up and get a haircut one day. Just do that a few times and just hear some of the conversations that's happening around you. And just the fact that you've been present a few times, you'll be drawn into the conversation as well. But that doesn't mean as soon as they bring you into the conversation, what do you think about this bike lane? Don't jump right into the project.
Yeah.
Just get into it. Like, just talk about the haircut. Talk about the kids or whatever they want to talk about at the moment. And girls, go get your nails done. I'm due for a press on. Go get your nails done and have girl talk. Get your feet done.
Just figure out how you, like, going back to what I said earlier, figure out what characteristics of yours and can you connect to the community, and if not, can you bring somebody that you trust in to have the conversations for you or build those connections to make the change that you would like. But it really just takes being on the same page with somebody and willing to build a relationship to make the change necessary.
Jeremy, do we have any more time for another question?
Yeah, we have about 9 minutes, and there's one comment in the Q&A. And to summarize it, it's essentially, can we change the planning process so the community brings us problems and we introduce what our teams can do?
Absolutely.
Then place it on the community to define the problems and prioritize what they want done.
Absolutely. I'm not sure where this idea comes from. The planning process has to be so A, B, C, D. It doesn't have to be so clear cut. If you want to jump to K, go to Z, all of that, as long as you make sure that the community is leading with their problems first and that you're not imposing your problems or the solutions on them, you can design a process however you feel fit, as long as that community is heard first.
I would say, yes, it is possible. It just depends on what level of dedication you're trying to put into your community. For example, if you are a planner that's tied to a specific demographic, you can build those relationships inside of the community and say, hey, here is my vision. This is it. We need to work together to make this happen. How do we activate the community for them to be able to tell us the truth of what needs to happen before the deadline to come in place? Like, this is what we see. I think that as a planner, like the conversation, for example, the conversations that I have with my family at home, I know what the master plan is, the comprehensive plan, and why Whole Foods are popping up in other places. My family doesn't understand why that's happening in the community, right? So what I'm telling them is, this is what you have to be aware of. These are the people that you need to talk to. I think that we need to break down to the people that we know first what our experiences and what we actually do. People don't know what planners do in my family.
They think it's event planning.
Yeah, they do. So when I have the conversations of, this is what I do, this is how it impacts you, this is what you need to do, like go to your community meetings, talk to your representatives, all of those things. If we start normalizing the human conversations with our families first, then we can be able to have a larger impact. I would also, because I'm in marketing and I do digital marketing, I'm also gonna shamelessly plug, use your social media. LinkedIn, start putting your professional opinion that are not tied to projects out there, because all of the people on your LinkedIn, they might be in your college, they may not be planners, but when time comes to it, when they have a challenge in their community, they're going to come to you. Because there are things about marketing that I post on my LinkedIn page, and then when people have challenges, they come to me because I'm the only person on their timeline, or I'm the person that is having the conversations with them when it's not tied to anything.
Right.
So start having these normal conversations outside of your project deadlines, and you'll get more comfortable with the conversations, you'll get more comfortable with your approaches on how to talk to people, and you'll get more creative with how to create real change through the people, for the people that you're trying to help.
People love giving their feedback on
Yeah,
social
they do.
media. If you have not been on Facebook in a minute, child,
Yeah, you can get people.
People will tell you their opinions and their thoughts once you educate them. My Facebook is a little rowdy, but that's where grandma and them are. So all the cousins and stuff.
All right, time check. We got 5 more minutes. Does anybody else have another question? Oh, I'm glad that DDOT's project curbside management program has been successful. Yeah.
So the person who asked about how to phrase the question, that just left my mind that quickly. The question we just asked, they said about letting the community tell them first what the problem is. They said it's been successful with DDOT's curbside management program in the past 5 years. So congratulations to y'all. Thank you for doing
huge.
that. Because I'm sure you're saving a lot of money, saving a lot of time, and bringing a lot of impact. So congratulations.
That's what we're all here for.
Great, thank you guys so much. You know, I think this has definitely been a highlight of the sessions I've been to, because it really kind of put the planning back into the human focus, and reminded us that we need to be real with our expectations and be reactive and understand what the community wants before we dictate. Right. So I really appreciate that. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and for all those who chatted and contributed to this presentation.
Thank you so much. And thank you
guys.
everyone
We
too.
appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.
Thank y'all for joining the conversation.
We finished, y'all. Look at me being impactful out here.
And it's a wrap. Sorry we couldn't add y'all's conversation into the chat. I would have if I was tech savvy, but I didn't. I don't see that there's a lot of questions, but thank y'all for the feedback too. Like,
We really do.
Life
Speak
of
on
Man
it.
said, yes, girl, we're gonna see you soon. Thank you so much, Kendra.
Hey, Kendra.
really
We gonna be
like
friends
y'all.
in real life. You just don't know it yet.
I swear. Who else said something? Thanks for joining the chat, Mom.
Whose coffee is that?
Space to Mo.
Bye.
We ain't sponsoring nobody until you sponsor us, okay? Yes, Mommy. But yes, if y'all have questions, we can answer it too.
Please talk to us, because we need to start having these conversations with y'all and talk about things other than like superficial stuff. Because
Literally.
gentrification is happening in our community, like fast.
Fast. And if you in St. Louis, it's here. I know y'all done seen that building they done threw up. It's a wrap. It's time to get on it so we can lead all these conversations. My Instagram says we got 30 seconds left, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug in Gutted Fitness. We talk about this hood politics as part of the platform, so if you want to get into this a little more, definitely go to guttedfitness.com and go to the Instagram, Gutted Fitness, Gutted Fitness. Okay, you got a plug?
Hey, just follow me, Chrissylynntoyou, spelled all the way out.
Mhm.
We'll drop it in the comments. Hold up.
You got 10 seconds.
Type in fast, y'all. There we go.
And we out.